My dear friends, hello, my dear listeners. How are you all? I hope you are doing best within your situation, within your circumstances to serve your duties with utmost honesty and love. So, let's start the next part of the life journey which we are going through the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansadev. Some months passed. The Pandit's long absence from home made his people anxious. They had heard a report that a strange transformation had come over his mind since he had come in contact with an incense sadhu at Dakshineshwar. So they wrote to him frequently urging his return. Gauri had a suspicion that they might come to Dakshineshwar to take him away. After much thought, he hit upon a plan and one day, prostrating himself before Sri Ramakrishna with tears in his eyes, he asked leave to go. Well, Gauri, said the master, what is the matter? Where are you going? With folded hands, Gauri replied, bless me that my desire may be fulfilled, and that I may not return to the world before realizing God. After that, he disappeared. Another man of this type came to Sri Ramakrishna, Pandit Narayan Shastri from Rajputana, an orthodox Brahmin of the old type. He had molded his life according to the ancient Hindu ideal and for 25 years lived a brahmachari's life in the house of his gurus. In the course of which he became versed in different scriptures. It was his ambition to acquire the knowledge of the six schools of Indian philosophy. After studying five of them under various distinguished scholars of northern India, he came to Bengal to learn the Naya philosophy from the Pandits of Nadia. The Maharaja of Jaipur, hearing of his erudition, wished to make him chief pandit of his court at a high salary. But being desirous of prosecuting his studies still further, he declined the offer and spent 7 years at Nadia, assimilating the complex philosophy of the Naya school, after which he came to Calcutta on his way home. Unlike the generality of scholars, Narayanan Shastri was not content with the study of books. Sincere and devoted, he knew that mere reading of philosophy did not imply assimilation of the subject. He saw that realization and book lore were quite distinct from each other, and that the former was infinitely greater than the latter. Occasionally, the idea came to him that he should devote himself exclusively to the aim of all philosophies, the realization of truth. But he decided to wait until he had finished his studies. It was his good fortune to meet the saint of Dakshineshwar when this was done. He was greatly attracted. In order to study under Sri Ramakrishna, he determined to stay at Dakshineshwar. The more he saw of him, the more he loved and revered him. The master was glad to have such a sincere disciple and spent hours with him in spiritual discussion. Narayan Shastri had read in the Vedanta about the seven planes of spiritual development and how, as the mind of the devotee ascends higher and higher, it sees strange visions until it reaches the last plane where oneness with the Brahman is realized through Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and the bondage of ignorance is left behind forever. These were matters of intellectual speculation to him, and such words as supersensuous perception and samadhi were vague ideas to him. Now he saw a man in whose life these subtle truths were realized facts, enacted time and again before his very eyes. What a strange thing, the Pandit thought. Where can I find a better teacher to explain the truths of the scriptures? I must not lose this golden opportunity. Nothing is so certain as death. I must make a serious attempt to realize the Lord and be free. Every day, this thought dissociated him more and more from the world. With a rare spirit of humility, he sat at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna and tried to assimilate his words of wisdom. Often he said to himself, "Look at the saint. He has realized the goal of life, and armed with that knowledge, how calm he is. Even death has lost its sting from him." The Upanishads declare that whatever such persons wish come to pass without fail, and those who take refuge with them soon reach the end of their earthly desires and attain to illumination. Why should I not make him the pole star of my life? But he feared to be rejected as unfit by Sri Ramakrishna, and days passed by whilst he was trying to gather courage to ask the master to become his guru. In the meantime, an incident took place which is worth mentioning here. Michael Madhusudan Datto, the great Bengali poet, a Christian and barrister at law, was called to Dakshineshwar by Dwarkanath, son of Mathur, for consultation about a lawsuit. Hearing of Sri Ramakrishna, he expressed a desire to see him. The master was requested to come to Madhusudan. He did not wish to go and sent Hriday instead. Dwarkanath again asked the master to come. This time he accepted the invitation and went with Narayan Shastri. The Shastri had a talk with the poet in Sanskrit, in the course of which he asked him why he had embraced Christianity. The poet is said to have replied that he had been compelled to do so for pecuniary reasons. "What?" replied Narayan Shastri in a reproachful tone. "For such a trifle, you gave up your precious religion. You should have preferred starvation." The Pandit was disgusted and did not talk to him further. The poet then implored Sri Ramakrishna to give some advice. "Somebody is pressing my lips," replied the master. "I cannot utter a word." "I am your humble servant," said the poet. "So why should you not favor me?" "That is not the point. I want to speak with you, but somebody is pressing my mouth and preventing me from speaking," said the master. The poet was naturally mortified. A few minutes later, however, Sri Ramakrishna sang some well known devotional songs which consoled Madhusudan. Narayan Shastri expressed his disgust at the conduct by writing in a charcoal in Bengali characters on the wall in front of Sri Ramakrishna's room that it was foolish to give up one's religion for the sake of the stomach. This used to attract the notice of visitors long after the incident. One day, Narayan Shastri met Sri Ramakrishna when he was alone and begged to be initiated into sannyasa. The master yielded to his importunities. Soon after, he bade adieu to Dakshineshwar. Nothing further is definitely known of him. Some say he went to the Vashishta Ashrama in Assam, determined to lay down his life if need be in the struggle for realization. He probably died there. Sri Ramakrishna often spoke of him to his devotees. Not content with receiving sadhus and other devotees, Sri Ramakrishna, without waiting for an invitation, would often seek those who were known for their quest of the truth to talk with them. He did not care whether or not he would be well received. His sole concern was to meet different devotees and to find out how far they had progressed towards their ideal. He never failed to estimate a man according to his deserts, be he of humble or high position. Pandit Padmalochan, Devendranath Thakur, Bhagwan Das, Babaji, and Swami Dayananda Saraswati were some of these he visited about this time. We shall tell of his meeting with Padmalochan in the next episode. So till then, be happy, be jolly, and keep praying. Shubhamastu.